Wow, that screen looks a little bit different. Get my hat adjusted. Got to get it just right. I'm doing my best imitation of Mini Pearl tonight. We'll see how long we can keep that balanced. I really didn't want to take the tags off. Well, there we go. Maybe it'll stay right there. I didn't really want to take the tags off tonight uh, for this a very special presentation of the David Paisano show. I just got back from my trip to New Mexico. I put out my video, and I always buy the hats. Got my Capulan hat right there hanging. Got my Folsom Museum hat hanging. This is a very special shirt for me. It's a very special shirt because this is the shirt I was wearing the first time I met Forrest Fenn. It was a pretty fun day at Fenbury. I don't remember if it was. I don't remember if this shirt was worn on Fenbury 2016 or 2017. But I started out the morning. They were having a screening of the movie. Now, not Golden Greed. No, not that movie. Not Golden Greed. It was this other movie that had Sasha Johnston and a few other searchers in it. And it was, I think, at the La Quinta or something like that, one of those hotels off of Cerritos. And I got there early. I was carrying my book, and by God, I was going to get Forrest Finn's autograph if I could get it. And I was wearing this shirt. And I think I had a hat on that said something about insurance or uh, something like that. Can't remember exactly what it said, but it was something like um, smart. It said smart insurance on it, and it was a camouflage kind of hat. So anyway, I'm walking into the hotel venue, and I got my uh, nervousness going kind of because, like, yeah, I've been following this guy for a year and a half, 2 years, and I've been reading everything he put out on his blog and the old Santa Fe Trading Company and all this good stuff. And I was getting to that moment where I was going to meet this guy. At this point, the guy had meant quite a bit to me. Oh, by the look, my hat just moved. Anyway, by the way, I should probably mention that today's my dad's birthday. Well, he's passed on, but he'd be 95 years old today. And so I'd read his book, and I was kind of enthralled with some of the fatherly advice he had, and the idea that hold the door for somebody, make their day better. Some of these philosophies were in the My War for Me story were pretty good, and I bought into it pretty well. And so I had quite a bit of admiration for this man at this point. Um, so I mean, I'd been out looking for the treasure in 2015, and a year had passed, and I had fired off a few emails to the guy, and maybe I got out of 10 emails, I might have got one, response that said something to the effect of, "Good day, sir. Thank you, sir. I wish you well, sir. Good luck, sir." Something like that. Um, and but I was there to see. I was there to look in the guy's eyes. Honestly, I was there to look in the man's eyes to see if I could figure out whether the man was telling the truth about his treasure, and whether it was a true story, whether the treasure was real. I feel like you can get more from a person if you're right there in front of them asking questions than you can over, listening to an interview or whatever. So anyway, I'm going in there, and the reason I've been doing this monologue here is because I'm still trying to figure out the name of that movie that they put out with Sasha Johnston and some other people. Um, I wish I could think of the name of that movie. But anyway, there. So there, I just wanted to read the person. Well, they do the showing, the clip. I opened up the door. Forrest, okay, so first of all, I'm walking towards the place where they're going to have the meeting. And this guy's walking up, and I immediately recognize him as Forrest Fenn. And I look at him going, well, he's a little shorter than I thought he would be, but he was just vim and vigor, had this blue shirt on, walking down the hallway like it was going to be a big day for him. Well, I got to the door to open to the conference room where they were having the screening, and up walks in the producer of the movie and his, I don't know, protege or whatever. They, I opened the door for them, and then they say, "This is an important day for us. Could you take a picture of us?" I had no idea who they were. It's like, sure, no problem. So I took a nice selfie of them at the conference room where they were going to do this, and um, so anyway, I get to this point, and well, my dad did pass away when he's 65. By the way, I was only like in my 20s when that happened. But anyway, so uh, I, I wanted to. So the thing gets over, and I'm going, sure, I got some time to get this guy right. So I ran out to my car to get my book because I had this book from that I'd gotten a long time ago. Well, 6 months, a year ago, if you will. And I had this book that he had given to Jennifer London, and it said to Jennifer London, the pick of the litter, right? And I thought that was an interesting inscription that was on the book, right? And so I go in there, and by the time I get the book, go back to my car, get the book, come back into the venue, everybody's gone. Oh man, I'm so disappointed. But they organized this retreat up at Hyde Park, right? And I think this was the first one that might have been at Hyde Park. I'm thinking this is 2016. Anyway, so I go, okay, I got a second chance. I got a second chance. I can actually talk to Forrest. I can get this guy. I can walk up to him, stare at his eyes, and say, hey, whatever. And so I go down to Kiwanis because Kiwanis was mentioned in a couple of scrapbooks, and Miss Maven, I think, and a few others they were talking about. So I went over to Kiwanis, and they got me some Farmer's Tan beer, a whole 6 pack, and this is like a six percent beer. I sitting in the parking lot, and I number one, all right, uh, number two, all right, down the hatch. So I'm sitting here in Kiwani's parking lot. I drive in a vehicle across at this point in time. Just driving my car. I am driving to pick up after the search area, right? So I'm driving my car, and I get the second one down. I go, oh, what the hell? Oh, do number three. So I put down my three Farmers Tan beers in about, I don't know, 20 minutes in the parking lot. And it's like, all right, they probably got the food out now. I'm heading up there. So I drive up the thing to the Hyde Park, and I'm I get some food, and there's Forrest, and he's mingling. He's working the crowd with the usual acumen, that Forrest Fenn knew how to work a crowd. And he works the crowd, and I'm thinking, I finished off about 5 beers now and had a little bit of light light food with the rest of the crowd. And I don't know if this is the year I got one of the pineapple pies or not, but one of these years I actually got one of those famous pineapple pies that Roll Tide or somebody made. Anyway, so hmm, so I got there, and sat down with a bunch of people, kind of in the back row, and I go, well, hell, I'm going to do it. I'm going to meet my man. I'm going to go talk to Forrest Fenn. And I'm not really a shy guy or anything like that. Well, maybe I don't know. But so anyway, I run back to my car. Come back to my car, carrying the Jennifer London book. And you got to remember, this is the book Teepee Smoke. It's the book Teepee Smoke that he had autographed to her. And so I go, all right, here's my opportunity. I walk right up to him, and I said, hey, I got something to show you. He looks at me like I'm like the idiot from the Town Crier or something. And I go, I got this book. And I held it up to him, and it was TP Smoke, and he said, "That's a good book." And I said, "Well, I got something I got to show you. I got something I got to show you." So I flip it open to the page where it says, "To Jennifer London, the pick of the litter." And his eyeballs went like that, and he looks at me. He goes, "Where did you get that?" And I said, "Well, I happened to be on eBay one day, and I bought it off of eBay. And the inscription was so interesting, I had to have it." And I didn't add this point, but I should have added this point. I should have said something like, "I had to have it." Like, well, anyway, I'm having a flashback to a TV show. Anyway, so anyway, I said I had to have it, and he goes, "Do you know what she's doing these days?" And I go, "I have no idea what Jennifer London is doing. I just bought it from a thrift shop." And I then said, "I've written you a couple of times, and I have a blog. Do you know who I am?" And I leaned over and I whispered in his ear, I said, "I'm the end of the chase." Kind of took a step back and looked at me and thought I was crazy or something. And anyway, and then I think I just said something like, "Well, I just wanted to shake your hand and meet you and say that I've had a really good time with this thrill of the chase." And about that time, I think I held my hand out, and he shook my hand, and I ended up having my picture on the cover of the Santa Fe, New Mexican, uh, after that event. And there you can go look at the Santa Fe, New Mexican of me shaking Forrest Fenn's hand at Finbury when they did a story on the Finbury that year. And anyway, I guess that forever will be my claim to fame when it comes to the Forrest Fenn treasure hunt. This shirt, the cover of, well, not the cover, but the feature article photograph of me shaking Forrest Fenn's hand, holding the book that I'd gotten off eBay from Jennifer London. I had written him a couple of times via email up until this point, but the thing is, I really couldn't figure out if Forrest Fenn was telling the truth or not. Even after sitting there, looking him in the eye and trying to figure out if he really had a treasure out there. Really, still, I really couldn't tell uh, whether the treasure was real or not. But he went over and talked to Dow, and they had a funny looking conversation about this time. And I'm going, well, now that's really interesting. So that's how I met Forrest Fenn. That's how I have this shirt. I will be putting this shirt on eBay later tonight. The opening bid will be for those that are interested in Forrest Fenn memorabilia. Well, it's about that time in the evening where we do a top five on the David Paisano show. Um, the number one is Nomadic, who saw Minnie Pearl at the Grand Ole Opry once. I have a Grand Ole Opry story, and I'll tell it right now. So my uncle and my mom and me and my aunt went to the Grand Ole Opry, and Jimmy Dickens was still doing performances at the time, and he walks out on stage and announces himself. He has to pull the microphone down to his level, obviously, and the microphone's just about to cover his face, and he goes, "I'm Jimmy Dickens, and welcome." And I'm going, "Where is he? I can't see him." "Oh, he's behind the microphone." I probably said this loud enough for 3 or 4 rows in front of me to hear this, but anyway, little Jimmy Dickens at the Grand Ole Opry. Jeff came in number two, giving me the nice shirt award. Um, Nomadic says, "Your father was older than Forrest." Yes, he was older than Forrest. Uh, Nomadic says, "I went to Finbury to look in your eyes." Well, I got no at Binbury. I got Nomadic Madman so good. And so this is a good story. So I'm at Finbury, and Nomadic Madman comes up, and I think he's got a video going or something like that. And he asked the question, "Did you find the treasure?" And I said, "I think that treasure's right behind that camera." Ah, do you remember that? Good times we had. Oh, I'm creeping you out now. Well, if I didn't creep you out earlier. That story had to get to you right there. Oh, Jeff says everybody dined and dashed. Well, I mean, really at the Finbury, that really wasn't. I mean, the first Finbury, people hung around for a long time in 2016. There was people there. I mean, there was a lot of people there. Uh, Steve Klein's here announcing his presence as being the best. Robbery G's choking in, or is coming in. And it says, I think Bill should sue you all after he gets the estate. Uh, yeah, I think so, Smoking Joe. I think you're going to get the estate. Uh, anyway, hey, the bunghole's here. I'd be never forgotten. Huh? Peeps just jealous that Bill is a music producer. Well, I mean, I appreciate people that do things in life, and you know, I think Bill puts out some pretty decent music from time to time. Ghost Dancer Radio has his musical output. I know Sophia Champion's doing some music with Suno, but you know, I started that whole thing. I think I introduced a lot of people to that when I put out a few videos that were made with Suno, and I put out the first one I think I put out was the one on the John Collins treasure hunt that was called "There's Errors Inside," making fun of all the errors that John Collins Black had made in his book. But I appreciate everybody that took that on and is doing that. That's a good tribute. I appreciate it. Thank you. Um, Robbery G is expressing his love for K Pro. Well, nothing wrong with that. You just might want to take it up with Mike. I think Mike has dibs on that. But I mean, if you want to tangle with Mike over K Pro, I'm not going to stop you. Ooh. Smoking Joe is expressing his affection for Sophia. Well, so anyway, I went to that Finbury, met Forrest Fenn, and I was still enchanted with Forrest Fenn after that meeting, and I felt that could be a positive and great presence in my life, and he was. Forrest Fenn has been and was a great presence in my life up until about June 6th of 2010. And I'm still waiting to see how he was in my life, what he meant to me. I'm still waiting. But I've been waiting for another 5 or 6 years after that, and he's since passed, and there's no way of getting anything from somebody who's passed other than their memory. And I still have some really fond memories of this treasure hunt, uh, and things that transpired over that time. But I think it's time for me to say goodbye to Forrest Fenn. Just as I said goodbye to my father, and I think maybe Forrest has been a part of that, and he came into my life at a point in time where I thought I needed. Hey, here's somebody that's got some good advice for me. Let's see what this guy has to say. Kind of like my dad in some ways. My dad wasn't the swashbuckling salesman out in Santa Fe, New Mexico, doing $1 million deals, but he was from that generation of hardworking people from the plains, from Kansas and Texas, who had parents who valued the value of work and the ethics of doing a good job, and doing the best you can, and making sure you're doing things and getting things right. Uh, and so from that perspective, I felt there was a lot there that I could learn. Well, not necessarily learn from, but use as inspiration. And It's been a guiding force in terms of there are 4 or 5 years for me where I was seeking purpose in life, and not that a treasure hunt is a purpose in life, but more so the idea that you can do things and you can accomplish things, and you can put a treasure hunt out there, you can run a gallery. You know what I'm saying. The sense of accomplishment that Forrest Fenn has was something that I wanted to continue to have. And so that was kind of that was kind of what I was looking at. And that was what I was feeling. And that was the emotions that I've been caught up in for, you know, quite a few years. Finally, after my trip to Folsom this last time, and uh, doing the video that I did last week, um, I think I've to the point where I've got some whole closure on this thing, uh, and I want to give you this and show you this, because this is truly what brought it home for me. And you probably won't be able to see you obviously probably won't be able to see the subtle differences there are. But a great person in the thrill of the chase met me out at the Folsom get together, and appreciate having somebody out there that I knew other than the bones, other than the bones that were there. But I guess it probably really just it finally came all together for me. And it's unfortunate that I wasn't involved in the thrill of the chase earlier than I began. And it's unfortunate that I decided not to get the book until 2017, because I thought I wasn't going to be the guy that paid money to enter a treasure hunt. But so let me show you this. Okay, so this is a copy, and you won't be able to probably see the differences. But here's a copy of The Thrill of the Chase. This is sixth printing, 7,000 copies, right? Sixth printing, 7,000 copies. And like I said, you won't be able to see the difference. But here is the first edition, and I so appreciate this, and I really honestly covet it. But this is a copy of the first edition, one of 1,000 copies of The Thrill of the Chase. And I'm just saying that this book carries clues that were not available to you if you got the later edition. And while the two books look very alike, while the two books look very much alike, there is a subtle difference. There is a subtle difference to the sixth edition versus the first edition that only people who have some specific knowledge will appreciate. And I guess what I'm saying is that I never truly understood the thrill of the chase until that very moment when I compared the two. And when I compared the two, I realized exactly what the thrill of the chase was all about. That it was at that very moment that I realized what the thrill of the chase was about. And so I've been talking to a few people on Discord after my video came out this week, and one of them mentioned uh, some other things that I might want to enjoy, such as Fort Collins, Colorado. And I watched a George Friesen presentation, and I think I think maybe Newman Sagewalker actually gave me the piece that I've been missing for the longest time. And I honestly think Newman has given me the almost 80 that I have been searching for but not searching for far enough north. And I've always thought that the almost 80 clue meant that you were right there at 80 or close to it. And I've always stopped my search at Denver, at the Museum of Natural Science. But I really think there's a place further north. And I really think that is maybe the place where Forrest is talking about almost 80. And I thank Newman for pointing that out. But with this revelation here and the revelation that I got from Newman today, I feel like my journey is now complete. I honestly feel like my journey is 100% complete. And I don't think there's any more journey left for me in the thrill of the chase. I've looked at what I've seen and parsed it out and particulated it out as many ways as I can. And maybe I had confirmation bias, maybe I had some blinders on about what I knew. But with these last two pieces of information, I don't think there's anything for me that can be incomplete in this mystery. There's no mystery left for me. And so there's nothing left for me to look into. There's nothing left for me to try to discover. And I've been battling the last 6 years trying to discover something that I may have missed or not known. And I watched Nomadic's video today where he had went back to his search area, wondering if there was something he might have missed. And I think I'm at that point. I think I'm at that point where there is nothing that I've missed in this. I've seen it all. It may have taken the guy that gave me this book, and it may have taken Newman today to fulfill the journey for me. But I think it's now complete. There's no other places I can go for more discovery because it's all right there in front of me. Uh, and so let me get caught up on the chat with that. Okay, let's see. Trusted. Hey, Trusted came in. Why Must I Go is here. Steve Klein is in the room. Uh, yeah, I like the guy Don Knotts as well. I think I might know who Don Knotts is, but then again, I might not. Um, if Don Knotts is watching, there's only a few people that have that book. Anyway, uh, you probably didn't know that when I gave it to you, did you? Anyway, uh, Pirate says my journey to the dark side is now complete. I okay. So whereas before this week's revelations, I was a associate member of Chase Inc. I have now gotten my card printed and presented to me. I am officially a full member of Chase Inc. Because I honestly think Forrest Fenn was giving out merit badges like a Boy Scout camp leader. And I think people along the way got their Boy Scout badges or Girl Scout badges, whichever. And I think Jenny Kyle got her badge. I think Suzanne Summers got her badge. Uh, I think along the way, there were many people who were in on the joke, who got their badges early. Sadly, it took me 6 years after Forrest Fenn passed away to get my badge. Now, this badge doesn't get you anything. It doesn't get you entry into a Yellowstone National Park. It doesn't allow you to cross the Firehole River to get to 9 Mile Hole. But what this badge does get you is relief. It gets you out. As Ian once said, it allows you to climb over the wall and see what's on the other side. So I now think I have my badge. Well, it looks like Tim's here. Hey, good to see you, Tim. Lily Bell, ringing the bell. Apologize for that. Good to see you, Lily. Robbery G's shouting out to the Knots video, thinking it was great as well. Um, uh, Why Must I Go said somebody's been buying up all of the books, and he sold two of them last week. Well, I actually had that book given to me, and I'm so grateful to have it. Honestly, I'll treasure it. Actually, I'll treasure the fact that somebody. Okay, let me just rephrase this. I will treasure the fact that somebody gave me a first edition copy of Forrest Fenn's book more than I will actually treasure the book itself. How's that? Because in my world, people are more important than possessions, even though I do have a lot of possessions and I don't want to get rid of them. But anyway, um, the duplicity that I offer is tremendous. Uh, I mean, I seriously don't take my advice because I don't take it myself. Tim K's giving me a wave. Um, Only one knew how to read The Thrill of the Chase. Yeah. Hey, I saw that Trusted's going to do one more video. Can't wait for that. Uh, maybe we can relate it back to something we both know, the Casa de Gavilan. Since I'm on my way out, I'm going to say that the very first person I ever communicated with outside of a blog, outside of a treasure thing online, was with Rebuild the World. And I think I had a text, and I texted and I told this guy, I said, "Hey, I'm going to the I'm going to the gorge." And or no, I'm going to the Grand Canyon. And I think he texted me back, "Are you in New Mexico or Arizona or something like that?" And I go, "Oh, I guess I mean I'm going to the Rio Grande Gorge." And I don't know exactly. I think I might have had another text or two, but first person's videos I ever watched was like Desert File and Rebuild the World. So shout out to those guys. I'm not giving you part of the treasure if I get it, but I do remember the days when everybody was just searching, you know. Zozo, so good to see you. Uh, uh, Trusted Living says, David, does your special edition have the twins in it? I don't know. It says in the front cover it's the first edition, one of 1,000 copies. That's all I can tell you. I think mine is the ninth printing. Well, the one I compared it to was the sixth printing of 7,000 copies. 6, 7, 6, 7. Anyway, uh, Zozo took a second look at his book and has confirmed that he does have a ninth printing of that book. All right, look at that. I almost flipped it back up. Anyway, that's basically your 4 cards and a joker. I'm trying to flip those cards back up. Anyway. Trust and Living says, but the video will be about the key word twin. Well, yeah, I don't know. I think that whole thing about the key word, the word that is key is. I actually stole Forrest Fenn's keys one time. And so I think that whole thing started with that. Probably. Uh, there's so many of these things that the little girl from India, I invented the little girl from India. Her name's Charlotte Hall. And it was public discord between Forrest and myself, open to everybody who was reading my blog and his blog and what he was saying. And, it's simply Charlotte. It's Charlotte Hall. And it's because Charlotte Hall wrote this story about, about India. Oh, treasure. It's 9 letters. It's the longest word. Zoza says, I have 2 prize Thrill the Chase items. A New Mexico Amtrak magazine with that story and a copper coin from Calazar's. Number 309. Oh, 309. I bet you Ben has the coin that's the flight of the I bet Ben Boy. I bet you Ben has the coin for the flight of DB Cooper, whatever it was at 305. Zozo is still looking for serial number 999. All right, let me just give you this. I'm going to give you this because this is probably my last Forrest Fenn show because I'm wearing the special shirt. Um, so when Mapgate came out, Mapgate was a promotional venture that started with Shiloh offering for sale maps that were owned by his father. And these maps that were owned by his father were in a case. They were in a a library map case. And the whole entire lot was offered on eBay. And the whole entire lot was a series of maps of Wyoming, Colorado, New Mexico, maybe even Montana. And the Calazars programming, uh, they bought it. Calazars and uh, Cynthia bought the map collection. And lo and behold, it wasn't long before that map collection made its way to the public market. And you could buy maps of specific areas from Calazars, from K-Pro. And it was a sucker's bet. So by this time, I think Calazars and K-Pro knew who the lead searcher was. And they were just, and I think Cynthia was in on this as well. But at this point in time in the chase, what was happening is there was a group of people, Toby Eunice, K-Pro, and they were trying to social engineer the lead solver. And I don't know if Forrest Fenn had put them up to doing this to see if they could get the lead searcher to show their cards via wanting a map or some other nefarious thing. But my approach to this, and they did the same thing with these searcher coins. So my approach was to this. If I buy a map, it's going to be of an area that I'm not even interested in searching because they're trying to collect people's solve ideas based upon the map that they buy and then somehow turn that into a better idea than the one they had. And so I took this as I'm not going to buy a map, or I'm going to buy a map of an area I'm not even searching in case they think I'm the lead searcher. Well, I ended up not buying a map. The same was true for these coin numbers because I think they were trying to pin this down. Toby Eunice went so far as at February 2018 handing out a written questionnaire to people asking them certain questions that would then give him an idea where they were searching. I filled this out with so much bogus information about 9 Mile Hole that if he thought I was the lead searcher, I think he was going to buy an SUV and head north. And I don't know if Forrest Fenn put these people up to. I don't know if Forrest Fenn put these people up to all of these biometric tests. I guess they're not biometric, but I like the word biometric, so I wanted to use it tonight. I don't know if Forrest Fenn put these people up to offering out these tests to see if a lead searcher or anybody would give up their hidey hole, via ordering a map for additional detail of the Popo Aggie. I mean, I'm serious. I have no idea. But it just seemed like everybody in about 2018 was trying to social engineer the solve out of somebody. And this was because he said there was a lead searcher. And, Scott Conway was at El Vado Lake with the big dig. And I'm sitting there going, he's the closest anybody I know is to finding it. He's at least got an excavator out there working. Ain't none of us got an excavator going. Fact: Hell, Michigan is up for sale for $625. 7 acres and an ice cream shop. Well, for a little bit more, you could have the gallery in Santa Fe. Hmm. Put on your asbestos underpants. The devil is all huffy and puffy today. Well, thank you. Thank you very much. I'm trying to be the devil in disguise. Uh, Pirate is asking, so is Dave about ready to step down from the chase? Well, there's nothing else new. There's nothing else to offer. I've offered up everything I can at this point in time. And so what am I going to do with my life? I feel like I'm in that movie. I'm that guy sitting there in his bedroom when his father comes in and says, "What are you going to do with the rest of your life?" And the kid yells back, "I want a rock! I want a 9 mile hole rock!" Uh, it was found at 9 Mile Hole. You were right. Yes. Dave, would you never, Dave, would you never step down? He clomped his boots a few times, though. Yeah, the old clomp of a boot. Yeah. The pirate said, I wore out my boots clomping them, so I got a new pair. Oh, the pair of boots I found were pretty old. They're awfully small, too. Smaller than I thought they'd be. They're almost like women's boots. But anyway. Uh, okay, so for those of you who listen to the guy tell the story about the human hair and catching rabbits in a net with human hair. There's only one person here that heard this story. Let me just tell you, when I got back home, I researched that. I researched that story to see if it was authentic and true. And that guy was lying his ass off. That whole hair net, that net made of hair, was found in Arizona. The only Wikipedia article I could find about any net that was made out of human hair that was used by the Clovis people to capture rabbits was in Arizona, not where he said it was. I also want to take on this guy as well. And if you're watching, you're the tour guide that gave us the tour. If you're watching, listen to this. I don't believe for a minute that these uh, Folsom people did a 2,000-mile hike every year in order to get food. Do not believe for a minute that they went from Colorado Springs and went through the Arkansas Valley and then went up high into Montana and followed, routes of where all these stones are. So anyway, here's the problem at the Folsom site. At the Folsom site, they have multiple uh, points that came from different areas when it comes to where you actually get the stone. So the stone to make a Clovis point is a fairly specific stone. It has the ability to be napped. Hey, Ben, Napple, where are you? Anyway, they have the ability to be napped, and that means made into a leaf-like projectile, which can then be attached to a arrow and put in an atlatl and thrown at a bison. Well, anyway, so the guy's telling the story about how these people traveled 2,000 miles, and this site is, one of the places where they got their food. In other words, they butchered a bunch of animals. Well, the problem is there's 33 different projectiles that were found at this location, and some of them have flaking stone that does not come from New Mexico. It comes from Colorado. It comes from further north, east of there. So anyway, the flaking stones are not all from that area. And so he says, they went to these different places, and when they were there, they made these points. And I'm sitting here thinking to myself, nah, that didn't happen. My theory is this. My theory is that at the time, 10,000 years ago, there were many, many tribes in different parts of the country. And occasionally they would butt up against another tribe, if you will. So let's say this tribe was in Colorado Springs, and part of their hunting area was where this buffalo kill was. I think that these were feudalistic times. I think there were several tribes involved. And I think the reason they have these arrow points from other parts of the area of other states is because they had war and they had battle with these people. And they got these points because they captured or killed a rival tribe. And so they were still good, they were still flaked, they were still made in a way in which they would be used to kill. I'm now thinking of the show where the guy says, "It will kill." Anyway, for anybody that's seen that show, you can post in the chat. But anyway, my theory is that these people were not nomadic at all. That they had a trade range, if you will, or a range in which but they butted up against other tribes. And just as the people over in Papua New Guinea have tribes, and some of them are headhunters, and they're still in constant battle with each other for food. And occasionally they might have a skirmish. I think they pick these other projectiles up as the spoils of war. And since they were still perfectly good weapons, they then used them when they went out buffalo hunting. Well, it wasn't buffalo, it was bison and tiquas. Bison and tiquas, it's not buffalo. Anyway, so they went out there, and I think that's how. When you go to the site, you have multiple arrow points from multiple places where there's flaking stone, as opposed to this idea that these people wandered for 2,000 miles every summer, camping at various places and flaking out stones, and that's why there's so many different stones. That's my theory. I have now made a significant contribution to our archaeological history, and my name will be mentioned in papers going forward, I'm sure. But just think about this logically. Do you really think these people were on foot 10,000 years ago? The Cherokee Indians could not get along with the Shawnee Indians. The Native Americans couldn't get along with the Europeans. We can't get along with Iran. When people came back from Germany, they brought guns that the Germans used to fight. When the North defeated the South, they kept weapons that they'd gotten off of the dead soldiers in their conquest of the South. This is human nature that dates back 10,000 years. All these pussies that are saying that, oh, it's one tribe, kumbaya, they all got along. That's why they went for 22,000 miles searching for food and places to stay. It's just 10 miles a day and hiking. Bullshit. Bullshit. These people were humans. These people did not have sophistication above a tribal mentality. They're just like we are today. And just like we keep spoils of war, they kept spoils of war. And that's how all these fucking different arrow points from different parts of the country ended up in one place. George Friesen, I know you're dead, but that's your answer. Taking on the whole archaeological community tonight. I'm feeling mighty spirited. Oh, Trusted Living says the second coming ending begins in 14 days. Well, I won't be around for it. I'll be out in the field harvesting wheat, maybe. We still have a crop. Anyway, today's project, by the way, was getting a wheelchair ramp set up at the farm for my mom so she can get out of the house more comfortably. Anyway. Well, what's going on in the chat? Boy, I was on my soapbox there for the last 5 minutes, wasn't I? I'm waiting for the first archaeologist that wants to contact me and take on my theory and tell me why it's wrong. I'm all ears. Sweet pea, I thought they were trade goods. Okay, now that is the second theory of mine, that if these people were not taking the spoils of war, that these then could be multiple tribes that didn't travel 2,000 miles a year, but indeed traded with each other. But why would you trade? My question to those who think that these were trade items, why would you trade your flaking stones? I mean, why would you take a perfectly good arrow point that you'd spend hours or maybe even a whole day flaking out? Why would you trade your arrow point for somebody else's arrow point? I suppose you could have traded a woven basket for an arrow point, right? I guess. If they're a little short on baskets or whatever, maybe you could have traded some dogs or uh, burden animals that you had with you. Maybe you traded some animals, some burden animals like dogs with these other people. So I suppose there could have been a barter. We'll trade some of our dogs for your flaking points. But considering the fact that almost everybody had the opportunity to flake out a stone, unless you lost your lead flaker in a battle, well, my lead napper was killed by the other tribe, and so I have nobody to nap me a stone into an arrow point. So I guess I'll trade this basket or this food for these arrow points. But if you're a tribal member, if you're short on food, why would you trade an arrow point for food? Because that's how you got your food, was an arrow point shot from an atlatl. So the most valuable thing that any person possessed at this time was that arrow point that could procure food. Otherwise, you're eating ants, you're scraping together berries, you're taking the the grain that is naturally growing at the right time of the year and taking a matate, whatever it is. It's a round rock and a place where you pound it into something you can make into something to eat. Uh, I mean, it's a tough life, right? Uh, Trust in Living says, "Hey, Zeus's second coming started in 63 A.D. and completed their task in 70 A.D. of the temple destruction." Well, Donald Trump's going to make sure that the Bible actually comes true by pissing off Iran, who already has a nuclear weapon, but they haven't told us yet. Anyway, but they'll show us. Anyway, Donald Trump, he's pissing me off. Pirate says, "Onward and upward." Well, make sure you like and subscribe because YouTube likes that. Okay, I was on quite a rant there about the Folsom Museum and the Folsom people, etc. Um, I'm not an archaeologist or anything. I just find it fascinating that people come up with these ways in which they can explain things when the answer is actually more clear than they imagine. It's just they don't want to go there. They don't want to go to the idea that 10,000 years ago, these people were in battle with each other over the limited resources that were out there. And that over time, from 10,000 years BC to 6,000 BC, they had depleted the food supply that many of the tribes that were around relied upon, and they were starting to infringe upon other people's territories. There was fewer, the lions had died off, the tigers had died off. Shout out to the lions. Anyway, they'd all died off because of the change. There was no more by 6,000 BC. There was no more mastodons. I mean, just think how much meat you get from a mastodon, but they were gone. The primary source for energy was the bison antiquus by this time, and maybe the flora, the plants that were available. But these tribes would butcher these buffalo, bison antiquus, not buffalo, but they would uh, sacrifice a few of the herd, who the first ones that fall in the arroyo. The first ones that fall in the arroyo are basically going to be bruised beef, right? So you got these ones that fall in first, and they're going to be bruised up, and There's some of these places where they've excavated, and the fully intact bones of the animal are there. In other words, they weren't chopped up into pieces. The butchering process at the bottom of the pile didn't include any butchering of the first ones because they were all bruised. Now the next ones that came, they didn't get beat up quite as bad, so they were able to fully or partially butcher them. And then at the top of the bone pile, you have the ones that you couldn't even find a tongue bone if you look for it because the first thing they ate was the tongue. And if they were really, really hungry, they popped out an eyeball and bit into that because that tasted like butter. Can you just imagine living out in these times and the first thing you want to eat, the first thing on your menu is as soon as I get to that bison, I'm going to eat the eyeball. Well, I mean, it's soft, it's viscous, it tastes like butter. You pop it out, chomp it off, get your knife out, start butchering, right? I mean, that's how it worked. That's how these bone quarries got. That's how they ended up there is because they have 33 animals or 35 or 36. 28 full grown mammals, full grown. 1 ton. They have 31-ton animals and they have a few calves, maybe weighing 500. And you got a 90-degree day coming on, and you got to get your meat before that tiger shows up, before that bear shows up, before that other animal. And as soon as the blood starts flowing, okay, I'm just repeating what the guy said. But anyway, once the blood starts flowing, you better get your fire going with the smoke that's going to go downrange to disguise the smell of the blood, or you're going to have all of these scavenger animals, coyotes, showing up to eat your kill. Trust of Living says that Popeyes taste like chicken. Yes. Trust understands the Bible as well as he does Forrest Fenn's poem. Yeah. Okay, how did we get onto that? Well, folks, it's been my pleasure. I've almost got my 1 hour in, so Chase Inc. There, okay. My final rant on Chase Inc. Chase Inc. is going to spend up all of the money that they got from the Forrest Fenn auction and never give a penny of it to any solver. This message is to all the true solvers out there. Chase Inc. is going to spend your money. They're going to spend all your money promoting other ventures, other things. You will not get a penny because all that money that Heritage Auction collected for you is being spent. And the LLCs are going to drain the bank account, trying to make a name for themselves, get their treasure hunts going, whatever. And there's not going to be a penny left for the solver. So that's the fair warning to anybody that thinks they're going to get something out of this treasure hunt. As the Chase Inc. is bound determined to spend every dime, every penny. Although they can't really spend the pennies anymore because they're not making them. So you'll be left with 9 cents. Oh, sorry, 4 cents, because they can still take a nickel out of you. Oh, nickel and diming. But anyway, just to wrap up, I mean, it's been my pleasure to be on Friday nights, to be doing these shows, to be talking about Forrest Fenn, the happenings and the thrill of the chase over the last several years. But for me, there's really not much more. And I know you're all sitting back there saying, this guy's quit before, he'll be back. Give him 3 months, give him 4 days, he'll be back. He can't keep his mouth shut. He doesn't know he's talking. He won't. He'll be still searching. Whatever. Anyway, I might be on. I might do a show, but I know I don't. I think now that it's my dad's birthday, and I think I want to go back to my father and cut myself off from the surrogate father that I've had, and I think this is a good time to do that. Yeah, I think this guy's given me everything he could offer over the 10 to 15 years that, you know, I relished in thinking that this guy had quality advice for me, things to live by. What I'm saying is, I didn't need that. I guess what I'm saying is this: I felt it, thought it was important, but I didn't need it because I'm truly who I am. Because how I was raised by my real father, by my real mother, by my real family. And I guess what I'm saying is, I can cut myself off from this idea that there was some continuation in my life where I needed somebody, some some book, something to aspire to think about. And I'll admit to crying in front of Forrest Fenn one day. And I actually told him, I said, "You remind me of my father." And I think I broke down in tears and walked out. Honestly, just walked away uh, because I felt there was something I needed from that. And maybe it was the closure I never got with my dad because he died in the middle of the night in his sleep. And I was one day I was out at the farm. It was a Sunday afternoon. I'm out at the farm. I'm helping my dad load a wheat out of the bin, and I'm pulling the auger, putting it in the truck, and the auger's taking wheat. We got the truck full, and I said, "Well, I got to go back to work because I had a full-time job." And I guess I slept on the couch that night. Actually, no, I didn't sleep on the couch that night because I wouldn't have to drive back. But anyway, I drove back that night. I got a call the next morning. My mom's panicked on the phone. She goes, "Your dad passed away." I, I was shocked because I just looked in his eyes and his face and the day before. And, he was 65 years old, but he was still a pretty healthy 65. He'd had diabetes his whole life, and he was a type 1 diabetic, and he'd had some heart surgery and this kind of thing. But the doctor said he was doing fine, and congestive heart failure was, under control and all this. And I drove back to Kansas City, and my mom calls me the next morning, and he passed. And that's how sudden my father left. There was no closure for me at all uh, with that whole situation. And maybe I was looking for it. I don't know. Maybe this guy gave me an opportunity to find some of that closure. I guess I'm thankful for that, if I got that from that. But yeah, I mean, at one time I really enjoyed having a somebody to talk with that was a man that was older than me. And and so for me, it was there was some fulfillment in that for me. The guy's about, well, maybe 5 years younger than my dad, but still from that same generation. So I think it's time for me to move on. I mean, I'm 60, and I don't think I need to search that out anymore. I don't think I need to search that out anymore. I'm not saying this man wasn't important for a 15-year period of time where in the 10 years that he was alive, he was, honestly somebody I looked up to and admired. Some of that waned towards the end, because I thought, oh, here's a guy upright, standing from that generation of heroes. He'll do the right thing. He'll give us these answers we're looking for. He'll let us know what happened. And maybe he couldn't. I don't know. Maybe he couldn't actually uncouple himself from the situation he was in with certain situations and all of that. And I'm giving you, oh, I'm giving you 20% of the story. Uh, but, uh, I guess there was an emotional connection for me there. And I don't know. I think those stories are not just mine. I think there were other people who were involved in this treasure hunt that got more out of it than just looking for a treasure in terms of emotional, personal support, things that the man offered to them indirectly, not financially, but emotionally. I mean, there are some of these stories where people wrote to him and said, I was thinking about killing myself, but I found your book and it gave me some purpose. And there are people over time who have lamented and said those things, and maybe this is my chance to say that, and move on from it. But uh, I think at some point we have to look at ourselves and look at where we're at in life and ask what can we do. This person is no longer here. Uh, we can honor his memory for a while. It's Memorial Day weekend. Uh, we should probably honor the memory of all the people that have passed that we've shared a connection with this weekend. And maybe those are the emotions I'm giving you tonight. And then I'm thinking about all the people I've known that I've passed over this period of time, and what some of them have meant. And on a just I mean, just the other day I was thinking back about all the people that have helped us out on the farm. And I wrote a story called Old Farmers. And I think I read this story to you about maybe the last time I did this show, but I read the story I wrote about old farmers, and all those people are gone. All these people, we used to hire people to help us on the farm during the summer, and by and large, most of them are gone. But at the moment that they were helping us, uh, their contribution to what we were doing was the most important thing. Yet they took their time, and granted, we paid wages and stuff, but they didn't have to come run a combine for 7 days, 10 days. The guy didn't have to come out and work on our machinery after hours when he already had a full-time job in town. I mean, I'm not saying that the community of treasure hunters aren't like that community, but that community of people that I think back on as part of what we have done as a farm, that to me is what the community is. None of those people had to do or needed to do what they did, but they saw the American farmer or farming as somebody that helped keep people with food and have food on the table and that type of thing. And so they were willing to come do a dirty job for not much pay because they were part of a cause, and the cause was to get the crop harvested before it spoiled so that we would be able to feed the people in our country and around the world. And I'm not so sure treasure hunting does that. I'm not sure the community around treasure hunting does that. And there's good people in the treasure hunting community, don't get me wrong. Well, anyway, it's 1 hour and 16 minutes and 40 seconds of Forrest Fenn fun on a Friday. I appreciate everybody that's joined in. Make sure you get out and uh, decorate your graves this weekend if you haven't already done it. I know some people probably have already been out there and paid their respects, but um, don't forget to remember those uh, that have passed. And I think I might be back next week, but I'm not sure what I'm going to talk about because with Newman's thing that he gave me today and my past experience, I really am. I'm fully. I'm fully. I'm fulfilled. I'm fulfilled in the knowledge. There is only one looming. I really only have one question left, and the question I have left is: did Forrest Fenn put this whole entire event together to have somebody discover his special place? Or did this whole thing get put together because somebody denied him the ability to own his special place? And that's really the only question I have left.